You ever look at someone's life and think, wow, they're doing well? They've got the luxury SUV in the driveway, the big house in the nice neighborhood, the watch, the new iPhone every year, maybe even a boat. And then you find out they're stressed about money, carrying credit card debt, barely investing, one job loss away from panic. And you think to yourself, wait, how? Or maybe, if we're being honest, that person is you. You've got things. You've got income. You look stable on the outside, but your bank account feels fragile. Here's the thing. Some of the things we think are assets are actually financial anchors. Today, we're breaking down 9 assets that look rich, but quietly keep you poor. My name is Elijah, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people accidentally sabotage their own wealth. If you're someone who earns decent money but still feels like you're not getting ahead, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what we're about to talk about, it's uncomfortable, but it's powerful. Asset number 1. The dream house you can barely afford. Look, I'm not anti-homeownership, but I am anti-buying a house that eats your entire financial future. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the median American household has a net worth of about $192,000, but the majority of that is tied up in home equity. Which sounds good, until you realize home equity doesn't pay your bills. Home equity doesn't grow tax-free like a Roth IRA. Home equity doesn't compound at 8 to 10% annually, like the stock market historically has. Now, let's do some math. Say you buy a $600,000 home with 5% down. That's $30,000 down. Mortgage of $570,000. At 6.5% interest, your payment, principal plus interest, is about $3,600 per month. Add taxes and insurance, you're easily at $4,300 to $4,800 per month. Over 30 years, you'll pay over $700,000 in interest alone. Now, you might be thinking, but Elijah, houses appreciate. Yes, historically around 3 to 4% per year nationally. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 has averaged about 10% before inflation over long periods. Here's what most people don't realize. When your house consumes 40 to 50% of your income, you choke off your ability to invest. And that's where real wealth grows. The house looks rich, but the opportunity cost keeps you poor. Asset number 2. The luxury car with a 72-month loan. This one hurts, because cars are emotional. The average new car price in the U.S. is now over $48,000, according to Kelley Blue Book. The average monthly payment? Around $730, and a growing number of loans are 72 to 84 months. That's not wealth. That's future income already spent. Let's break this down. You finance a $55,000 luxury SUV at 7% for 6 years. You'll pay roughly $6,000 to $7,000 in interest. The car will likely be worth under $25,000 by the time you finish paying it off. You just locked in guaranteed depreciation. Now imagine instead, you bought a reliable $20,000 car and invested the $35,000 difference at 8% annually for 10 years. That becomes about $75,000. That's the invisible wealth gap nobody sees. The car signals success. The investments create it. Psychologically, this is called status signaling. Humans evolved to display success visually. A brokerage account doesn't impress your neighbors, but a Mercedes does. That's why this trap is so powerful. Asset number 3, the investment rental property with no real margin. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Real estate is marketed as the golden ticket to wealth, and it can be. But most small investors underestimate 3 things. 1. Vacancy. 2. Maintenance. 3. Time. Let's say you buy a $400,000 rental. You put 20% down, $80,000. Mortgage at 6.5%. Total payment with taxes/insurance, $2,800 per month. You rent it for $3,000. Looks like $200 cash flow, right? Wrong. You need to account for 8% maintenance, 5% vacancy, property management, 10% if you don't want a second job, capital expenditures, roof, HVAC. Suddenly, that $200 turns negative. Now, you're subsidizing your asset, and because it's leveraged, small errors become big stress. Here's what most people don't realize. If your return on equity drops below 5 to 6%, you may be underperforming index funds with 10 times the headaches. Asset number 4, the business that only pays you if you show up. Entrepreneurship is powerful, but let's be honest. Some businesses are just high-paying jobs with extra stress. If your income stops the second you stop working, that's not an asset, that's a dependency. According to the SBA, about 50% of small businesses fail within 5 years, and many that survive trap the owner in 60-hour weeks. Now, you might be thinking, but it's my company. Sure, but if it can't operate without you, you don't own a system. You own a treadmill. True assets produce income without constant effort. Asset number 5, the stock portfolio. You don't understand. This one is subtle. You might have $50,000 in the market, but it's spread across meme stocks, hot tips, crypto you can't explain, and whatever your coworker recommended. Here's the problem. Complexity increases emotional mistakes. Dalbar studies have shown that the average investor significantly underperforms the market because of poor timing. Buying high, selling low. You think you own assets, but your behavior is sabotaging the returns. Investing isn't about picking exciting things. It's about owning boring, productive assets for decades. Asset number 6. The degree with $120,000 in debt education is valuable, but debt changes the math. Let's say you graduate with $120,000 in student loans at 6%. That's about $1,300 per month on a 10-year repayment plan. That's $15,600 per year after tax, which means you probably need to earn closer to $20,000 pre-tax just to service the debt. For a decade, if your degree doesn't significantly increase income beyond that cost, it's not an asset. It's a liability dressed up as ambition. And psychologically, once people commit to the identity of, I invested in myself, they resist admitting the math doesn't work. That's sunk cost bias. Asset number 7, the boat, the RV, the lifestyle asset. These are the big ones. The average boat owner spends 10% of the boat's value annually on maintenance and storage. So a $70,000 boat could cost $7,000 per year just to sit there. And most boats are used fewer than 20 days per year. You're paying hundreds of dollars per use. Here's the thing. We massively overestimate how often we'll use lifestyle assets. It's called optimism bias. Renting often costs a fraction of owning, but ownership feels permanent. It feels like identity. Asset number 8, the safe savings account with $200,000. Sitting idle. Now this sounds crazy. Cash is important. Emergency fund? Yes. But $200,000 sitting in a 0.5% account while inflation runs at 3%? You're losing purchasing power. At 3% inflation, $200,000 loses about $6,000 in value per year. Over 10 years, that's massive erosion. Safety feels good, but excessive safety guarantees stagnation, and stagnation keeps you from building wealth. Asset number 9, the lifestyle that matches your income. This is the most dangerous one because it doesn't look like an asset at all. You make $150,000, so you spend like someone who makes $150,000. Private school, country club, luxury vacations, high-end everything. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, higher-income households spend dramatically more on housing, transportation, and dining. Here's what most people don't realize. Wealth is the gap between what you earn and what you spend. If your lifestyle rises as fast as your income, the gap stays small. And the gap is everything. This is where it gets really interesting. A person making $80,000 and investing $20,000 per year will likely build more wealth over 30 years than someone making $200,000 and investing $10,000 per year. At 8% annual returns, $20,000 per year for 30 years equals about $2.4 million. $10,000 per year for 30 years equals about $1.2 million. Income impresses people. Savings rate builds freedom. So, what do you actually do? Okay, let's get practical. Here are 5 immediate steps. 1. Cap housing at 25 to 30% of gross income. Not what the bank approves, what keeps your investing alive. 2. Drive below your income level, not forever, just until your investments generate real momentum. 3. Invest automatically, every month, boring index funds. Set it and forget it. Consistency beats intelligence. 4. Separate identity purchases from wealth purchases. Ask, is this building income or just signaling status? 5. Measure net worth quarterly. You can't improve what you don't track. This is my final thoughts for you. Look, none of these things are evil. Houses, cars, businesses, degrees, boats, they're tools. But when they consume your cash flow instead of expanding it, they trap you. Wealth isn't loud. It's quiet. It's boring. It's invisible for a long time. And that's why most people miss it. If you want to look rich, buy liabilities that shine. If you want to be rich, buy assets that compound. And here's the truth. Nobody claps when you invest in index funds. Nobody compliments your fully funded Roth IRA. Nobody sees your emergency fund. But 10, 20, 30 years from now, you'll feel it. If this helped you rethink even one asset in your life, hit subscribe, because we're not here to look rich. We're here to build real freedom.